The best budget art supplies that are actually good. That's right, we're not going to be recommending products just because they're cheap. No. I'm going to be recommending supplies that are good, that are juicy, that are enjoyable, that a pro would want to use, but that also do not cost an arm and a leg. As you can see, I've already been through that. I don't recommend it. The actual prices in this video range from about $1 for the cheapest supply to $70 for the most expensive supply on this list. And they were all picked based on their value to price ratio. These are all supplies that I personally use as a professional artist, which I feel offer a lot of bang for the buck. But if you want to keep all of your bucks, I am also hosting a giveaway at the end of this video, so stay tuned to see how you can win some free art supplies. And by the way, hello, I'm Zaccura. I'm an independent artist, and I've worked on a very tight budget for most of my art journey. This is the list of supplies I wish I had when I was starting out, so I hope it's super helpful for you guys. The first supply on this list are the brush tip acrylic markers by Arrtx. And full disclosure, this video is sponsored by Arrtx. It's the only supply on this list that has brand support, but I want to be super transparent with you guys. It was my idea to put them in this video because I felt it was perfect to include, and I talked with them to make sure that they are okay with me being 100% honest and genuine with everything I say in this video. Arrtx knows that I'm going to be showing their product alongside a lot of other products in this video, and the fact that they're totally okay with that is really cool in my opinion. And because I really appreciate their support in helping me make this video possible, I wanted to talk about their product first in this video. So these markers are filled with opaque acrylic paint, which is waterproof once dry, and they have a flexible brush nib at the top. And this is really what sets these paint markers apart. A lot of other paint markers on the market only offer non-flexible bullet nibs, and they usually require you to pump, aka push the nib in and out of the marker to get the paint flowing. Somehow Arrtx with their sorcery managed to get around all of this and created these markers with no pumping needed. While there are other brush tip acrylic markers on the market I've seen, I'm pretty sure Arrtx has the widest range of colors available. And I will say, the consistency of these markers is just delicious. That brush tip seriously feels like painting with a brush, except juicier and with more control. As for the paint itself, very vibrant colors. There are some slight inconsistencies where some of the colors are more opaque than others. I also noticed that there is some hue shift with some of the colors, where some of them get a little darker once dry, some get a little lighter once dry, which took a little getting used to. Now, out of all of the supplies in this video, these markers are my top pick supply that I would recommend to anyone. And I know, of course she picks the sponsored one, surprise, surprise. But hear me out. The reason is because of all the supplies, I feel this one has the best balance of ease of use to fun ratio. If you're a total beginner, if you're buying it for a kid, there's not a big learning curve. You also don't need additional materials like brushes and palettes or fancy paper. You can use them on pretty much any surface you have. Paper, wood, rocks, your walls, maybe not your walls. And if you are a more serious artist, these make a really awesome sketchbook companion. The only thing I would be hesitant to recommend them for would be either big artworks, just because I think it would be wasteful to fill in large spaces with these, or super serious gallery works, because there is no info on the light fastness that I could find. Acrylic-based paints by nature tend to be quite light fast, but without the info, it's impossible to know which colors might fade over time. As for the price, at full retail, these markers cost $1.50 per piece if you buy one at a time through Arrtx's website, or between 70 cents and $1 per piece if you buy them in a set, which is more common. And their sets range from 30 pieces to 120 pieces, so around $30 to $85. So there's a lot of options to fit your budget. The set they sent me is their 90-piece set, which is awesome. If it's within your budget, I can recommend it. But if you have a smaller budget, 30 pieces is more than enough colors, in my opinion, to still have plenty to work with. All around, this is just such a fun supply to work with, which I feel most anyone who tries it will find a good use for them. The next item on the list is Turner Acryl Gouache. Fans of the channel probably know this is my longtime favorite medium at this point. I have an in-depth review along with a light fastness test video on my channel if you want to learn more about them. But in a nutshell, acrylic gouache is like the child of regular gouache and regular acrylic paint, taking, in my opinion, the best traits of each. These Turner ones in particular are very opaque and creamy, but can also be thinned out with water to get washes that are similar to watercolor. They're waterproof once dry, so you can layer them and do glazing glazes on top of them without disturbing the previous layers, and it dries a velvety matte finish that I just love. It should be said that if you are an artist who is already familiar with working with regular gouache, it may feel a bit weird or frustrating to use acrylic gouache at first. At least that's what I've heard from other gouache artists. Not every artist loves it like I do, but if someone were to ask me, hey, I'm serious about getting into painting, what should I buy? These are the paints I would recommend because they give a window into so many other mediums. You get a taste of watercolor, you get a taste of gouache, you get a taste of acrylics, and depending on what attributes you like best, you will know which direction of painting style and medium you want to grow into. I got this 24-piece set off Amazon for about 25 bucks. The tubes are only 11 milliliters, but I've been using this set for 3 years now, and I've only had to replace the white so far. They are very pigmented, a little goes a long way, but I should say I do paint very small, and I'm not the most prolific artist out there. Still, for the price, you're pretty much getting a professional quality paint in my opinion. And again, I'd recommend checking out my other videos if you want to know all the nitty-gritties. Next up, we have Kuretake Gansai watercolors, which takes the spot for my budget watercolor recommendation. These are actually a little different than typical watercolors in that they are not fully transparent. They have a little bit of opacity to them, sort of like the in-between of watercolor and gouache. We're loving the in-betweeners in these recommendations today. The texture is also a little stickier, I would say, than other watercolors, but not in a bad way. They are super vibrant, nice and creamy, a little paint goes a long way. I've made some pretty serious artworks with these and always enjoyed using them. Just don't expect them to be a traditional set of Western watercolors, and instead treat them for what they are, which is just a really nice, juicy set of paints. This 36 pan set is currently about $40 on Amazon, but if you have a smaller budget, I saw an 18-piece set for about 20 bucks, which I think is a great option. Now onto some supplemental painting supplies, things to go along with your paints. First up, get yourself a ball of gesso. Just do it right now. Pause this video, go to your store, grab that ball of gesso off the shelf, put it in your cart, check it out, come back home, and then continue this video. If you are working with any opaque paints like acrylics, acrylic gouache, regular gouache, gesso is a primer that allows you to turn pretty much any surface into a paintable surface. All it is basically glue mixed with some plaster and other things, which seals your surface and gives it a bit of roughness so your paints will grab onto it easily. I would recommend getting a bottle of white and a bottle of clear. I like to use the clear on wood so I can allow the nice neutral wood color to show through when I paint. This Liquitex bottle is around $9 these days, and this Montmartre clear gesso was about $8 on Amazon. Next up, if you work with any acrylic-based paints, I highly recommend getting yourself a Sta Wet Palette. This is a closable plastic box with a sponge inside and a special parchment-like paper which you use to mix your paints on. How it works is you wet the sponge and the water from the sponge slowly gets drawn up through the paper and keeps your paints from drying out. And yes, it works. I have kept paint in here for upwards of a month before and everything was still juicy. This thing eliminates the need for using a spray bottle while you're painting and allows you to take breaks without worrying about your paints drying out. You waste a lot less paint, and when you waste less paint, you waste less money. Big brain move over here. This 8.5-inch one I have by Masterson costs around $14. Some people like to DIY these, but since it pretty much lasts forever, it's well worth the cost in my opinion. Next up, we have brushes, because unless you're into finger painting, you're gonna need one of these. Now, this is actually where I like to cut costs. I like cheap brushes, and of course, higher quality brushes make painting more enjoyable, but as long as they don't shed and they hold their point reasonably well, that's good enough for me. I'm not super set on a specific brand, but I actually really like Himi brushes. Some of you may know this brand from their jelly gouache, but they also make some pretty nice paint brushes that I like to use with acrylic gouache and watercolor too. I actually won this cute light up set in a giveaway from Himi years ago. Sadly, it seems they don't offer it for sale anymore, but you can still get the actual brushes for around $10 for 5 pieces. I've also been using these blue brushes from Royal and Langnickel, which I got from Walmart some time ago, also just a few bucks. And I use these random brushes from Amazon, just the cheapest ones I can find. For gesso, I definitely recommend using a dedicated brush for gesso because it tends to get damaged faster. For watercolor, brushes can make a bit of a bigger difference in the painting experience. Even then, I only bothered to invest in one 14-round brush by Grumbacher for around $10 just to help with some larger washes. The key really with any brush you get is to take care of them. Don't leave them in your water cups. Don't let paint dry out on them. Clean them, okay? Don't let them get crusty. Now moving on to some pencils, pens, and ink ink type materials. First up, we have Prismacolor colored pencils. I feel like they're kind of the obvious household go-to name for colored pencils at this point, and they deserve it because you're getting a very nice, smooth, creamy colored pencil experience. I've admittedly not used these in a long time because colored pencil is just not my personal favorite medium, but for those who do like pencils, I can definitely recommend these. This 24-piece set currently costs around $25. Admittedly, when I got this set, it was much cheaper, so I'm not completely sure I would consider this a high quality to price ratio item. It's more like you are paying for what you're getting. You're getting good quality pencils. The price reflects that. But since I don't have another colored pencil recommendation, I figured I'd still include it. But if you guys have another recommendation for budget colored pencils, drop them in the comments. Next up, we have the Tombow Fudenosuke calligraphy pens. These pens single-handedly retired my dip pen years ago. I used to be a die-hard dip pen fan. I thought nothing could replace the smoothness and variance in the line until I tried these. Along with providing that variance in line weight, they have no mess and are easier to control than a dip pen, and also much easier to control than those brush-style calligraphy pens, which tend to require a super light touch. These, on the other hand, need a bit of pressure to get the line variation, which is great for heavy-handed folks. They are also water and alcohol resistant once dry, so they're great to use with watercolor or alcohol-based markers. They're around $5 to $6 for a 2-pack, or around $3 per piece. The only gripe I have with them is they seem to start to dry out faster than some other pens I own, but I love them so much I have to put them on the list. Now, if you are into drippy, messy ink, I can highly recommend Speedball Super Black India ink. I don't have a bottle with me currently, but I have been using this stuff for years. It is the blackest ink you can find. It's great for using with dip pens or with a brush. You can thin it out to make watercolor-like washes. Super fun for Inktober. Currently, each bottle goes for about $9.50 on Amazon. I'm usually able to get it cheaper in store, so I'd recommend looking around because a lot of stores carry it. But regardless, one bottle will last a very long time. And then we have a pencil. And I don't have a brand for this. A little bit of a cheeky supply to add, but it should be said, the best budget art supply an artist can get is a regular 2HB pencil. Anyone will do. This is what I started with, and it will always be one of my favorite mediums to work with. This mechanical pencil was a party favor from over 15 years ago. I use it purely for sentimental reasons, and I refill it with Pentel HB lead. Next up, we have a Kneaded eraser, which is the eraser you need. From my experience, any brand will do. Just grab one the next time you're at a craft store. They're usually less than $1. And this type of eraser is malleable like clay, and it doesn't leave behind eraser shavings. So it's great for lightening sketches or making a super tiny point to erase something very precisely. And bonus tip, it's great for keeping things from rolling off your desk. Moving on to surfaces to use all of your delicious supplies on, I highly recommend getting a multimedia paper because, as the name suggests, it's good for multiple mediums, so you get more bang for your buck. I personally like the Canson XL mixed media paper. I've even made my own sketchbooks with it before. It works great with paint markers like the Arrtx ones, as well as colored pencil, pens, or graphite pencil. It can also work for gouache and acrylics, but only if you don't use a lot of water. And even though it says you can use this paper for watercolor, I would not recommend it. It's just not thick enough to handle a lot of water. For watercolor paper, I would recommend the Strathmore 400 series 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. What a mouthful. When it comes to watercolor, paper makes a huge difference. If you're struggling with your watercolor, check your paper because chances are it's the paper's fault, not the paint's. But highest quality watercolor paper, which is usually made out of 100% cotton, can be incredibly expensive. If you have the budget for it, I say go for it, you're not gonna regret it. But if you don't, no worries. This Strathmore paper is a great alternative, and it's my personal go-to for both watercolor and gouache. It is a wood pulp paper, but very nice to paint on in my opinion. All of these paintings you see were done on this paper, and as long as you tape it down, the buckling is manageable and almost always dries totally flat. I've only experienced minor pilling when I did a lot of heavy washes, otherwise it holds up great. And I usually wait until Michaels has a sale to stock up on this paper, and I often like to buy the bigger sizes and cut them down to save money. But currently on Amazon, I saw a 9 by 12 inch 12 sheet pad for about $11. When it comes to watercolor, the quality of the paints, the paper, and the brushes all make such a big difference in the experience that it can be a pretty expensive medium to get into. If you get into an opaque medium like acrylic gouache or acrylic markers, you have a lot more options to save money with the brushes and the surfaces. For example, I've been enjoying painting on wooden coasters. These were about $15 for 84-inch pieces. I clear gesso them and they're great for acrylic gouache or acrylic markers. You can also get creative. Use scrap wood, use rocks. In this project, I used the piece of board on the back of paper pads with some white gesso, and it was honestly my favorite surface to paint on so far with acrylic gouache. Another paper I would recommend is some smooth bristol. From my experience, any brand is good, but I currently use the Strathmore brand. This is a thick and stiff paper that is very smooth and good for pen, pencil, and markers, either paint markers or alcohol markers. I didn't recommend any alcohol markers in this video just because I'm a Copic girly. It's one of the few bougie supplies I own, but there's plenty of affordable alcohol markers on the market. I've seen like Ohuhu or Olo. I just can't recommend them because I haven't tried them personally. Currently on Amazon, this paper is about 10 bucks for 20 sheets. And last but not least, we have drugstore sketchbooks, aka those cheap sketchbooks you find anywhere. This is actually my very first sketchbook from 2014. These are usually only good for pencil, and even then, admittedly, the paper isn't always the best. It can struggle with the eraser sometimes, but this is what I had when I started drawing. And I filled these things up like nobody's business. And I would still gladly use these. Just grab a pencil and go. Because ultimately, art is not about the tools you use, it's about what you do with them. And if you love art and you want to be an artist, use what you have and go make something beautiful. And that is the complete list of supplies. I'll have links to all of the supplies in the description box for easy shopping. But now it is time for the giveaway part of this video. Because you know what's the best budget art supply? A free art supply. The sponsor of this video, Arrtx, has kindly hooked me up with 2 juicy 90-piece acrylic marker sets to give away to you guys. So if you want to win one of these sets, all you gotta do is comment below on this video with what your favorite art supply is. It doesn't have to be one from this video, it doesn't have to be a budget supply, it can be anything. But please include the words "my favorite art supply is" in your comment so that I can easily search for it and include you in this giveaway. This giveaway closes in 1 week from this video being posted. I'll have the exact date on screen right now. On this date, I will pick 2 winners at random and reach out to them by replying to their comment with instructions on how to claim their prize. So keep an eye out, and I'll have the full rules for the giveaway in the description box, so please do read that before entering. And that's it. Good luck, and I cannot wait for you guys to receive these awesome art supplies. Big thank you again to Arrtx for sponsoring this video and supplying this giveaway. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please do give this video a thumbs up and share it with your artsy friends. And be sure to subscribe because I have some pretty fun videos coming up. Some wild stuff has been happening recently. If you follow me on Instagram, you know what's up. If you want to support the channel, you can grab some cool merch over on my shop at Zaccura.com. And until next time, stay awesome, stay inspired, always. See ya!